Hello, my name is Denise Cacaberry, and I am the Cybersecurity Specialist at Forward Edge. For those of you unfamiliar with Forward Edge, I encourage you to visit our website to learn more about our expert delivery of critical technology to the over 130 school districts we serve. In addition to being 100% education sector focused, we also enjoy the highest customer retention and satisfaction rates in the K-12 space in Ohio. I'd like to take this opportunity and offer you a brief introduction to the Forward Edge managed cybersecurity solution that you've likely already been hearing about. Our solution is the result of 2 years of intensive research and investment and aligns with our commitment to the K-12 space. Finally, we have made these next generation tools affordable through Forward Edge's cost aggregation across its significant and growing client base. Let's talk about what is the risk. To illustrate the very real acceleration of cyber criminal activity, we evaluate available industry data to include ISACs, Information Sharing and Analysis Centers, but also have forged valuable relationships in the cyber insurance space. It's important to go beyond the headlines and anecdotes and review hard industry data. The NAC, or the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, publishes annual cyber policyholder claim data. In other words, this data represents actual insurance claims in 2020 and highlights the year-over-year alarming trends. The most common cyber incidents in 2020 in terms of percentage of reported claims were not surprising. The industry saw a 41% increase in ransomware claims and a 27% increase in funds transfer fraud claims. Of these ransomware claims, there was a disturbing 47% increase in the severity of ransomware attacks from Q1 to Q2 2020. Most noteworthy is that the average ransomware paid increased from $240,000 to $340,000 year over year. In terms of fund transfer fraud, 2020 saw a 35% increase in the frequency of fund transfer attacks, and in 45% of cases, there was no recovery of funds at all. And finally, 16% of the cases where funds were recovered went completely unrecovered. Is education a target? This graph depicts 2020 cyber attack comparisons between the education sector and all other industries. The bottom line reflects industry or enterprise malware attacks, which remain noticeably flat and constant in 2020, while the top line represents the education sector. Notice the acceleration of attacks in March 2020, when schools' remote learning environments started to expand due to COVID-related remote learning initiatives. Industry experts reported that the average time to identify a breach in 2020 averaged 207 days, and the average life cycle of a breach was 280 days from identification to containment, making it important to recognize that the actual exposure to cybercrime in the education sector is likely much worse, as much of the incidents go unreported, or even worse, are yet to be detected on district networks. Two months ago, the Joint Cybersecurity Advisory Board, co-authored by the FBI, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and the Multi-State Information Sharing Analysis Center, for the first time, published a K-12 specific nationwide alert. They reported that ransomware attacks against K-12 schools had doubled to 57% in Q3 2020, compared to the first half of 2020 as a percentage of overall cybersecurity attacks. In addition to sounding the alarm about the exponential increase in the targeting of the K-12 space, the report also called attention to the most prevalent malware affecting K-12 schools. It was the first time we've seen the single highest malware reported to be targeting Mac OS malware at 39%. The balance was comprised of other malware predictably targeting Microsoft Windows operating systems. The point being, no operating systems are safe. Why is the education sector the target of 61% of all malware attacks in the United States? At the close of September 2020, an alarming 61% of the nearly 7.7 million reported malware encounters in the United States came from the education sector alone. So why does the education sector account for the majority of bad actor activity? Foremost, with the increased use of teachers and students accessing the district networks remotely from a less controlled environment, the service attack area of the school community has greatly increased. Cyber attackers view schools and districts as easy targets. The perception is K-12 cyber practices are underfunded, and with the advent of COVID, districts have had to scramble to adopt new remote learning tools, exposing their networks to significantly greater vulnerabilities. So what are they looking for? Cyber attackers are motivated by financial gain. First, they want to access district funds. Districts have attractive large cash balances. The prevalent cyber attack methodologies to do so are funds transfer fraud and ransomware attacks. Second, they want to exfiltrate valuable data, in particular personal identifiable information or PII, to sell either on the dark web markets or to sell to other international fraud players. An average synthetic identity kit can sell for up to $100 on the dark web. The dark web slang for this is a fool's kit, Fullz. And the most sinister of this type of identity commoditization that K-12 cyber experts are concerned about is infant fool's kits. These are more valuable synthetic identities as they are the personal data of minors. They are significantly more valuable as the bad actors can exploit these identities for years undetected or until the minor applies for credit, at which time it's too late. I'm often asked about Ohio's Aurora City Schools QBot malware breach that resulted in the theft of $4.3 million district dollars. It happened right here in Ohio and is worth understanding as it reveals the sophistication of these criminals. An accounting staff employee at the district received a malicious email from their child's swim coach. It contained a link to a malicious script, which was downloaded and unknowingly executed. 12 days later, the QBot malware was copied and executed on a second employee's system in the accounting department. The same day, the second employee received a social engineered phone call, supposedly from Huntington Bank, Aurora City Schools' own bank. This employee, in an abundance of caution, actually went through the exercise of verifying the number to be a legitimate Huntington Bank phone number. The cyber attackers had anticipated this and had spoofed the number. The bad actor instructed her to log into a Huntington Bank site to verify that the credentials were working after upgrades had taken place. Within the first 90 minutes, $4.3 million had been stolen in multiple incremental wire transfers. The next day, Aurora City Schools received a call from Wells Fargo in San Francisco advising that a suspicious wire transfer had taken place in the amount of $200,000 to a Romanian bank. The superintendent immediately notified the FBI. $4.3 million had been stolen via multiple wire transfer events, and the FBI was able to recover all but $200,000. This QBot malware is specifically designed to hunt for financial workstations and can be purchased for about $5,000 worth of Bitcoin on the dark web today. Managed services solutions versus managed cybersecurity solutions. What's the difference? Network administrators are realizing that though a well-managed network has inherent security controls, such as responsibly segmented configurations, antivirus software, tested and maintained backups, and firewalls, these tools are really just designed to ensure information systems and data are available and useful to authorized parties, and are primarily focused on maintaining network uptime. A managed cybersecurity solution is a departure from these activities. They utilize different technologies and are primarily focused on preventing, detecting, and responding to threats to network infrastructure and applications. An engineer on my team related a good analogy. Think of traditional managed network practices as keeping traffic flowing on a highway, and think of a managed cyber solution as looking for car bombs and hazmat materials in the cars and trucks on those same highways. A partnership with Forward Edge's managed cybersecurity platform goes beyond just the introduction of these advanced technologies and includes a comprehensive treatment of the district's overall cybersecurity posture across the district's entire culture. This entails understanding district-specific vulnerabilities, implementing best practices through administrative and technical policies. Finally, the solution aligns the district's security posture with compliance to nationally recognized cybersecurity framework standards. This will become increasingly important as districts will need to comply with federal and state data privacy laws. But the bad news is we are only going to share the highlights of our solution today. We want you to contact us to learn more about how we protect your house. Best protection practices that address your entire cyber posture across your entire district's culture. This includes intensive awareness training and implementation of administrative level and technology management best practices policies. Learn about next generation tools to include the deployment of enterprise-class software, the same software deployed in leading financial institutions, airlines, and hundreds of the Fortune 500. The same technology that would have detected and remediated the QBot malware in Aurora City Schools the moment the malware was executed on their network. Detection. Contact us to learn about the many cutting-edge technologies that we leverage to secure your network. Advanced technologies that use artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze your network's vulnerabilities, to include identifying out-of-date hardware and needed software patches, as well as best-in-class log analytics tools. The same analytics that would have identified the lateral movement of the Aurora City Qbot within their network that breached their firewall and circumvented their legacy antivirus software. Learn about how we surveil and center your network 24/7, 365 days of the year with our Manned Security Operations Center. Contact us to learn about our comprehensive response protocols in the event of an incident, a response that ensures your district has an integrated and trusted partner by your side to address the crisis. The good news is Forward Edge has the solutions and the tools to protect your district. Take the first step to address your district's cybersecurity exposures and schedule a cybersecurity assessment today. Included is an exhaustive proctored assessment across 18 risk categories, a network vulnerability scan, execution of a district-wide phishing campaign, and a dark web scan. Our teams will review the findings and get to work on securing your district. Interested in learning more? Scan the barcode or go to the link below to schedule a meeting with us.